Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. Well done for getting here with load shedding. It's lovely to see people joining us. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to put your cameras on and if you would like to put your sound on, let's do that. Let's have a noisy welcome to everybody. So just put your videos on and let's do a noisy hello, hello, hello.
Hi
hello.
everyone, good evening.
Hi everyone, lovely
Hello.
to see you.
Hello, everyone.
How you all doing? Love it.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. All right, ladies, how you all doing?
Okay.
Good. Everybody well?
Good, thanks, Briony.
Fantastic. So while you're coming into the room, feel free to say hi in the chat. And if you want to share your LinkedIn URL so that people can connect with you, that'd be really nice, because part of this is about networking and meeting new connections. So make the best of this. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Briony Liber. I lead the mentoring group for Women in Mining South Africa. My other committee members are here today, Andri Lachranji and Raksha Naidu. Raksha and Andri, why don't you put your videos on if you can? There we go. There's Raksha and there's Andri in her
Sorry, I've got load shedding already.
Okay, they're both.
And me
load
too.
shedding.
Me too. But
Sorry.
Raksha, I must say, you look much better in load shedding than what I do.
my husband set up a light nearby, so to try and help me.
Okay.
But lovely to
wonderful.
be here, ladies. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice to be here tonight. Thank you. Thanks, Briony.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. And then we've got our panel that includes Lauren Gamba, Mogaleadi, Seabela, and Avela. I think you've joined us as well. Okay, Avela is still joining us. Avela, Dr. Avella Madravu has joined us. She's also on our panel. Avela, I wonder if you can put your video on so that we can see you. And say hi if you can, just so that we can hear you. Still connecting to audio. Okay, good. So I see a few people are saying hi in the chat. Tobile, sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Listen, learn, and you don't have to participate at all. For everybody else, we're going to keep this conversational. We're going to keep it relaxed. Our panelists are really here to help us keep the conversation going and help us learn from each other. But what we want to encourage everybody to do is, if you've got questions, add them to the chat and we'll see if we can address them during the course of the session. And we would love to have your questions, because your questions always help us think. And your insights and observations would be great as well. So, tonight what we are doing is talking about how to manage your career like a business, and specifically talking about the concept of a career value chain. Why are we doing this? Because this is really the basis of the mentoring program that we run with Women in Mining South Africa. And our philosophy is that when you think about yourself as a business, when you think about yourself as the product of your business, and you start to consider all the different roles in your value chain, you start to manage your career in a very different way to if you only think about yourself as an employee. Okay, and so I want to start with a poll, and that is really with the question of, do you manage your career like a business? Okay, and your choices are yes, no, I'm an employee, why would I? Or what does that even mean? Okay, because then we can start unpacking what this actually means. Okay, so we've got a few people going, what does that even mean? One or two saying no, I'm an employee, a few saying yes, but the majority so far seems to be, what does that even mean? Okay, so that already says to me we are going to have a very useful discussion today. Okay, I'm going to let the poll run a little bit longer. Keep on answering. We've had 21 people of 32 answer so far. Be really nice to get everybody to answer. So if you can see the poll, please click on one of the responses. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. All right, and just to let everybody know, we're recording the session, so if you lose connection or you are struggling for any reason, don't worry. The session is being recorded and we will share it on a YouTube link in the next couple days. So if you drop off, don't stress about it. We will make sure that everybody gets to access the session when we're done. All right, so I'm ending the poll. And I am sharing the results. And we have an out-and-out winner, which is, what does that even mean? Okay, so this is quite an interesting outcome from my perspective, because what it says is a lot of our audience really don't have a sense of what it would mean to manage your business, manage your career as a business, to position yourself as the CEO of your career, to be intentional in how you run your career journey. Okay, and so I want to start this conversation recognizing that that's our starting point, and recognizing that that's absolutely fine. I remember back when I was an employee, I was a consultant, and in our company we talked a lot about being a business within a business, but I never fully appreciated what that meant until I actually started my own business. And this is a session that I truly wish I'd had access to 20 years ago, when everybody kept on saying, but you're a business within a business. And I didn't fully understand what that meant. So I want to start our discussion with an introduction to our panel. So I'm going to ask Lauren to say hi so that we can all see where you are.
Hello. Can you all see me and hear me?
Yep, can see you and hear you. So Lauren is a geologist. She's a career coach. She's a certified Lean Six Sigma black belt. That doesn't mean she's going to karate chop us.
No.
Although I suspect you probably could if you wanted to, Lauren.
If I tried.
She's got 11 years experience across lots of different departments in the coal mining industry, but she's also recently changed career direction, and she's now working as a black belt manager in an IT and finance company. So what I really appreciate about Lauren is her career has zigzagged in a number of different ways, and each of those zigzags has given her accumulated experience, broader insights into the business, and it's given her the opportunity to experience her career in a very different way to somebody who has stuck on the same path all the way through their career. She describes herself as having a very colorful career and a passion for helping others finding meaning in their own careers. So Lauren, let's start with you. What does it mean to you to manage your career like a business?
Like you said, you don't fully appreciate what that means until you run your own business. So when I started my business, I realized that for me to get clients, I need to put myself out there and market my business so that it's a brand that people can identify with. Now, if I bring that back to myself, it's the same thing. Now, I struggled a lot in the beginning when I started my business with, you have to be visible on LinkedIn and you have to go to where your clients are and when I think about doing that as a person. Some of it I did unintentionally. And if I look back, I could have done better. But now that I have this business, I understand what it means to put yourself out there and for people to see, hey, but this person can actually add value. I will trust them.
Great.
So yes.
What are some of the roles that you play in your career that are different to just being an employee? If you think about different kind of positions in a business, what are the positions that you play in your career?
So it's a one-man band, right? So if you think of in mining, you're everything. You're the logistics manager, you're the HR manager, you are procurement, you are the GM.
Yeah.
All of the strategic roles you are, but you're also operations.
Yeah.
So you do the strategy and then you execute, and then you have to pay yourself bonus as well now and again. So any person you can find that sits in mining, and also you're a finance manager, you're that person. So you have to bring it back to, my daily life. You actually do all of these things already. You just don't know it.
Yeah, absolutely. In your career, you are the product of your business.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to make sure that you are the most valuable product you can be. And
Yes.
you have to market yourself. So you are your own marketing manager.
Yeah. And it's important to make yourself the best product that you can be, so that your client, whoever that may be, would want said product.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you introduced the concept of a client, because when you are an employee, you think you don't have clients, but actually your clients are your bosses. They are your project managers. They are your line manager. They are your peers. It's anybody that you're trying to get to do something for you or with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to make yourself a brand that somebody would want. So if I can make an example, are you a Coca-Cola, or are you a Pepsi, or are you a Kingsley, or are you a Jive? Take your pick. All of them have pros and cons in different places. So you have to make sure that you're the right one at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe on that point, we can ask people to comment in the chat box what they think their brand is. Okay, and I'm going to ask you, Lauren, I'm putting you on the spot here. If you used 2 or 3 words to describe your brand, what would those 2 or 3 words be?
I think I would probably associate myself with something like a Suzuki, because Suzuki can make boats, but at the same time, they can organize you some musical instruments on the side.
Oh, wow.
or Volvo, we make cars, but at the same time, we've got machines at the mines doing the things. We've got trucks going. So a brand that can do many things at the same time and do it really well.
I think that's great. So I'm hearing you say agile and diverse and can cross different industries based on where the need is.
Yes, correct.
Brilliant.
And being able to identify said need.
Yeah. Fantastic. So anybody who wants to say in the chat what brand they would associate themselves with. So are you a Suzuki? Are you a Chappies? Are you a Omo? Are you Coca-Cola? And why? Okay. So I'd love to see lots of comments in the chat about that. All right, Mogaleadi, we are coming to you. So I'm putting Mogaleadi's introduction into the chat so that you can all see that. Mogaleadi, will you put your video on so that we can see you and just say hi?
Hello.
Yay, there you are. So Mogaleadi is a section manager at Anglo American Kumba Iron Ore. She has won many awards, not least of which the Standard Bank Women's Award last year. I hope you're going to tell us a little bit about that. I know your story of how you put yourself forward for that. And I think it's a really important part of you running your career as a business and advocating for yourself and positioning yourself. So maybe you can actually start by telling us a little bit about how you advocate for yourself as your own marketing manager.
Thank you so much, Briony, and good evening, ladies. Thank you again for this invitation. It's always so humbling for me, to join these conversations and learn. So I'm very excited, and it was really nice listening to Lauren. So in terms of running my career as a business, so luckily for me, the only business I've ever ran is Mogaleadi Pty Ltd. So, and the experience has been really interesting. Like with any other business, it's got its ups and downs. There's pandemics, there's market crashes. So Mogaleadi Pty Ltd has been through all of that. And how I actually advocate for myself is really to continuously remember that I'm a brand. And, if you think about brands, we are quite, picky. There's always a variety of what you can work with. And when I think about myself, I always want to differentiate myself because I've come to accept that I'm not the smartest mining engineer out there. I may not be the, all that. There's always going to be someone who's smarter than me, who can do the job better than I do. But I always make sure that I differentiate my brand from my peers. And it's really in how I carry myself. So it's listening to feedback as well. So the stuff people say about me to me, the stuff people say about me in my absence is all feedback. And it's all meant to, build this brand that I am working on as myself. And again, as a business, I have values that, I run my career based on, like any other business. And, in terms of choosing my partners, being my employers, I also look at their values. So for me, if I were to say what my values are, it's really around excellence. I crave and enjoy winning. And so I'm driven mainly by excellence. And I love it when I see people want to win because I believe we can all win. And every brand wants to be the best.
I love that. Raksha wants to ask you a question.
Please be nice,
I
Raksha.
do. Of course. So my question is just, how did you, given that you're such a technical person, you're a mining engineer, very technical by profession, how did you learn or discover that you needed to be the CEO of your own career? Because I think a lot of us as technical people don't naturally, tap into those areas of understanding. Was it a coach that introduced you to it, or how did you learn that's how you needed to manage your career?
Yeah, so I've always surrounded myself with, a number of people, my network, you can call them a board of directors. And I could always pin the puzzles together. They always talked about how you show up, who you are, who you think you are, who people say you are, and who you actually are, because I've actually learned that there is a difference. And being mindful of how you appear to people, and also taking the feedback to really work on how you are intending to appear. So when I decided to do this is when I actually decided to stay in operations, because as mining engineers and engineers in general, you can work literally anywhere in the banking industry and anywhere else. So when I decided to stay, and I realized that working with people, you need to be mindful of the kind of person that you are. And I think that's when I became more conscious about myself, my values, and being more clearer and continue. I mean, I'm still a brand in under construction. So I continuously work on the things that I want to define me. I want to define my career, the legacy that I would like to leave one day in the industry.
Mogaleadi, you said something quite early on in your response around you're not necessarily the cleverest person in the room. And I think that's such an important thing to note, because none of us are the cleverest person in the room, and I don't think any of us should strive to be the cleverest person in the room. And often you will find that some of the brands that we all purchase are not the cleverest brands. They're not the best quality. but they market themselves really well. They position themselves for a particular niche. They know how to speak to the values of their audience. And it's the same with us in our careers. We don't have to be technically the absolute best, but we have to be able to communicate to people what we do, how we do it, why it's important, why they should value what we do, so that people understand our value. And equally, we need to understand what they value so that we can position ourselves for them.
Precisely.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your Standard Bank Award.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. It was a very humbling experience for me. Again, entered thinking, I'm just going to create networks and put my name out there because it's quite a high-profile award. And I was actually inspired by the caliber of women who came before me in the category of science. And, as mining engineers, we actually don't usually see ourselves as scientists because we work with cleverer scientists, geologists being some of them. So in how I positioned myself for the award was really in exposing the work I do, especially around women in mining, as I believe I'm an advocate for equity. And I always want to make sure that I showcase my work and also mentoring people, showing, sharing my lessons, learning from others, and also just, contributing to the impact we want to have and continuing to inspire more girls, more women, young women to join the STEM field. So the award is really around women who identify as change makers and who want to continue to inspire women to stay in the STEM field and young girls to join in it as well.
I think that deserves a round of applause. That's amazing.
Thank you.
One last question. How has this award influenced your career and your reach in your career?
So it has really placed me, I think, a step further than where I was before. Besides just being the recipient of the award, now I've got some bit of a license to talk about science and mining as a science and us really creating space and also taking up the space in the industry as women. So for me, it has really positioned me well in starting conversations with people I ordinarily wouldn't have conversations with. I can now sit with our CEO, for instance, Mogaleadi, and just talk about where the future of women in mining is and what are you supposed to be focusing on. And I think that actually played a big role in positioning me. Thank you.
Mogaleadi, that's amazing. And I think this is testament for everybody to the power of putting your hand up. Don't wait for people to nominate you. Put your hand up. Sure, people might not notice your hand at first, but if you don't put your hand up, nobody will notice you at all. So that would be my advice based on what I've learned from you, is we should all be putting our hands up more often. Yeah. Mogaleadi, thank you. So you've mentioned science quite a bit, which leads on to our third panelist, Dr. Avella Madravu, who I would like to introduce now. Dr. Avella, would you put your video on and say hi so that everybody can see you?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay! Hello. And I'm sharing your parts of your profile in the chat quickly. And I'm going to summarize it, okay? So Dr. Avella is a research and development chemist at Sibanye-Stillwater. Her research speciality is to develop methodologies to separate or recover platinum group metals. I'm already at a loss to know how you do your work because I'm not a scientist at all. Even though I have a BSc and everybody seems to think I should know science stuff, I'm really completely overwhelmed. So I find people like you a little bit intimidating, but also incredibly inspiring because you are so fact-based and precise and method-based. And I think that's a really amazing thing. But what really inspires me about you is how you've stepped out of your laboratory and you are inspiring young women all over the place. You've been featured in popular magazines. You've been featured in the Inspiring 50 South Africa Awards. In fact, you were a winner. You've been awarded as a Rockstar Highest Performer. You volunteer yourself to the South African Association of PhDs. You're on judging committees. You are doing all sorts of things. And every time I see you posting on LinkedIn, it's inspirational. And I see lots of people just saying how inspirational you are to them. So what I really want to say as part of the introduction is well done to you for stepping out of your lab coat and your lab and being an inspiration to so many people who think of STEM as something that's intimidating and can now see it as something that is full of personality and life and excitement.
All right. Thank you so much, Briony. You know what? I prepare myself kind of like a presentation. Okay. So that you, kind of like presentation, because I wanted to show people how the mentoring has helped me to be where I'm at. Because currently I was a nobody. I'm somebody. So I wanted to share a bit, kind of a presentation, so that people can understand where I come from.
Fantastic.
Can I share it?
Absolutely. Okay. I've given you sharing rights. Go for it. And you were definitely never a nobody.
Can you see my slides?
It says you're starting to share, so we'll be able to see it in a second. Okay, I'm not seeing your slides yet. Is anybody else seeing Avela's slides?
Not yet. It's still showing starting to share screen.
Okay.
Because on my side it's showing your screen is sharing.
Not yet. It's still loading.
Yeah, still loading. Okay. Oh, no.
Avella, I just want to say that I'm a chemist by profession, and I also am so excited by listening to you. Sure. Very awesome.
Still not showing?
No. So, Avella, what I want to suggest is let's talk us through what you want to talk us through, and then you can maybe send me the slides and I will share them with everybody after the session.
Just keep showing. Let me just stop sharing because I'm stuck now. I'm stuck.
There we go. Okay.
Can you see something?
No, but we want to see you.
Oh, okay. Now I'm stuck. I don't know what to do.
It's okay. Just speak. We'll listen to your voice.
All right. I wanted for example, I wanted for you to understand where I come from in terms of saying that the background of me coming to being in the WIMSA. So at first I had to learn about myself, basically who am I as Avela. And then the mentorship helped me in terms of like understanding the thinking preferences of saying that who am I, and also understanding the people that when I'm building my career or I'm building my value chain, who are the people that can I talk to? So I found that.
Avela, we've lost you. Can anybody hear Avela?
No.
No, I can't hear her either.
Maybe she was load shed.
Connectivity problem.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I hope not. Ah, damn. Okay. I tell you what, let us continue.
Maybe
with
we can come back to her when she's back. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so what I want to show you very quickly, because we've been talking about managing our careers like a business, we've been talking about our career value chain. So what I want to show you is what we mean when we're talking about a career value chain. And then we'll go back to chatting to the panelists. So every business has a value chain. Okay, and a value chain is really a set of activities that focuses on creating or adding value to a product. Okay, so you've got your primary activities that are basically divided into the raw materials that come into the business, the operations that convert those raw materials into a product, the logistics of sending that product to the market, and then the marketing of that product and the after-sales service. Okay, and that might be where a business stops, but a business really requires support activities as well, which support the value-adding activities of creating and distributing a product. And those are the firm infrastructure, which could be your computers, it could be your buildings, it could be your vehicles, etc. Your human resources management that looks after your people, the procurement, so buying in decent raw materials, buying in decent services, and then the technology development, so the R&D of making sure that your products are always up to what the market needs. And what we did was take this concept and apply it to a career. Because if you get all of these activities right, your business will result in profit. And similarly, if you get all of these right in your career, you're likely to develop a valuable career for yourself. Okay, so the inbound raw materials in your career are your competencies. If you don't have competencies, you can't do your job. But your competencies aren't enough. You have to turn your competencies into something that is of value to your customers. Okay? And that requires self-leadership to keep leveraging your competencies. It requires you to do your job without derailing. And derailers typically in our careers are getting overwhelmed by our emotions, by not being able to deal with company politics, by not being able to manage the transition from being technically competent to being strategically competent. Other derailers can be things like not being able to advocate for yourself. So assuming that you need to work and work and work, but never tell anybody what you're actually doing. In marketing and sales in a business, you've got the similar responsibility for yourself of creating your own brand, delivering what you say you're going to deliver, making sure that people experience you as the person that they want to work with, not the person they don't want to work with. And then the final part of your primary activities is making sure that you know how to communicate to connect with people. If you don't understand who your stakeholders are, how they think, how they make decisions, and you can't communicate in their language, you're not going to be able to connect. You're not going to be able to be impactful. So those are what we see as the 5 primary activities of your career. But none of those are useful if your firm infrastructure isn't supporting you. In your career value chain, your firm infrastructure is your mindset. Positioning yourself as the CEO of your career, having a vision, being intentional, having a clear pathway forward, or at least having the resilience to go in different directions, but knowing where you want to go. Your human resources management in your career is your self-care, being able to look after yourself, being able to set boundaries so that you don't burn out, being able to take time out to think. Your procurement, I see as being your personal board of directors. This is where you buy your support from. You get your encouragement. You get your challenging questions. You get all the things that add value to your competence. And then your technology development is remaining relevant in your career. So this is looking to see where you need to go in the future, making sure that you don't get caught short, like some people did during COVID, finding that suddenly they're just not relevant in the market, that their careers and their professions have just suddenly disappeared. So this is looking to see how do you need to build your competencies for the future? How do you need to keep connecting with people to build your network? What are the things you need to be doing now to remain relevant in the future? And this is the concept that we're really using in all of our mentoring sessions. Okay? So I'm going to stop sharing there because I really just wanted to give you some insights. If you want more about this, you can always chat to us afterwards, but this is really just to give you some sense of the 9 parts of your career value chain. And I'm going to ask now how satisfied you are with the strength of your career value chain based on what you've just seen in that slide. Okay? So you could answer not satisfied at all. I've realized there are aspects of my career value chain that I haven't been giving attention to, and please excuse my spelling error. I'm satisfied, there are links I need to work on, but overall it's intact. Or very satisfied, my career value chain is strong. Okay? And let's just take a few minutes to get some answers to that. So a lot of people saying they're satisfied, suddenly not satisfied is taking over. Haven't got anybody responding to very satisfied yet. And if you would like to add comments in the chat about why you are picking your particular responses, feel free to do that. And at the same time, I'm going to ask our panel perhaps to talk about how satisfied they are with the strength of their career value chains. Mogaleadi, I see you smiling, so let me pick on you first.
Sure. So much pressure, Brian. It's now I feel exposed. I thought it was an, but anyway. So I'm quite satisfied. But like I said, it's still very much a work in progress. I'm still working on certain parts of my career. I think one that is still needing or with a lot of opportunity would be in the board of directors. So I do have a couple of people I can always call up and, chat about, whether it's professional, personal. But I know that, with every level of my career, every level of, or anything new happening in my life, I usually feed on people who've been there, who know what they, how to navigate around. So it's one area of my life that kind of keeps changing depending on my needs at the time. So it's one place that I feel, it's not stagnant, it's not text, but I always know if I struggle with something, I always think about who do I call. So it's an area of my life that keeps me wondering and looking around as to who my next connection is going to be, and how do I also benefit and also contribute to their journey as well.
I love that. Yeah, it's reciprocal, isn't it?
Of course, all the time.
Good. Andrea has her hand up, so I'm going to ask her to ask her question.
No, thank you, Briony. I was just thinking, I was reflecting on obviously all the discussions that happened now before you posed this question, or before the poll, and so that's actually a question to the panel. I'm thinking, is that not, so for instance, if I have been an employee in an organization, since inception of the studies, started working and not being on the other side, where I had to play all these other roles, being my own marketing manager, my own financial manager, where your role in terms of your own career was very much fluid and not, having a specific job description. That's not sort of influence that your mind, if we think about systems thinking and thinking about systems thinking 1 or 1 and 2, where you become much more intentional, does that not have an influence in your ability to think about your own career and all those aspects? You know, in terms of marketing myself, and all the other things, building, you know, relationships on executive level, board level, because I don't have that confidence. I never, you know, in my role in an organization, and we know that it's very hierarchical, don't have the opportunity to connect with levels, you know, 3, 4, 5 above where I am. So that's just my question for the panel.
Do you want to answer that, Mogaleadi?
I would like to, I don't want to claim answering it, but I'd like to just make a comment, and thank you for sharing so openly. And I think as you are speaking, what keeps coming to my mind is rebranding. I mean, growing up, there's been brands that have changed colors, brands, everything, but it remains the same. And some keep, you know, they add a few things here and there, but they don't change what they are delivering. So I don't think you should be putting yourself under pressure to be a particular brand or keep changing. So if you feel your current brand may not be appealing to a certain clientele, maybe it's time to rebrand. Maybe it's time to start having the conversations that are uncomfortable. And if you look at self-care, it's quite broad. Also being kind to yourself with where you think you are. If you think you don't have confidence, you are confident to speak to a group of over 30 people online. That takes a lot of bravery. So you need to start challenging the beliefs you have about yourself, because unfortunately, that is the brand you are selling currently, and it may not be appealing to the people you want to appeal to. So, you know, there's ways around still showing up to the audience that you are intending to show up to, even when you are not feeling confident. But it's around really showing up. Don't ever put yourself back and think that one is too high profile for me. I always take a chance. So when I hear that express coming over, I always try find something I can do around the time they will be around. You might never know who will, you know, want to ask where the ladies are. And you can accompany them and introduce yourself. And so it starts. All I'm trying to say is don't be the first person to not buy into your brand. Put yourself out there and you'll be surprised. I've been pleasantly surprised most of the time. Thank you.
Yeah, what you're talking about is CEO mindset and really reflecting on what you believe to be true and focusing on what you want to act on and make true for yourself. If you don't believe you are worthy of speaking to people several levels up than you, you're never going to speak to those people. If you put yourself in the position of being the CEO of your career, part of that mindset is, I have value, and my first principle is, if I don't ask, the answer will always be no. If I do ask, there's a possibility that it'll be yes. There's also a possibility that it'll be no, but I won't be any further back than where I am right now. Okay. Anybody else from the audience want to ask some questions at this point, or make any comments?
Margaret made a comment on the chat that she's a bit all over the place with her. I seem to be all over the show. Many ideas just need structure. So I think maybe that's something we can get, maybe Lauren to comment on first, because Lauren's obviously, transitioned to various different sectors and industries. And I don't know, maybe that could help Margaret a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah. Lauren, you up for that?
Yeah. It comes down to, I think, a large part of goal setting. What is it that you want to do? Where do you see yourself in a year's time? And then structure your ideas around that, because then you cancel out all the non-value adding things and park that. And you can always address it at a later stage. And then you can start adding meat to these ideas, you know. Where do I see myself in a year's time? What needs to happen in 6 months from now for me to get to that goal? And then you create some structure to that. And you'll feel better on a daily basis because you'll have purpose. You'll know what do I need to do today to get to my ultimate goal. I'm not sure if that makes sense, Margaret. Margaret, as you come on, let's talk.
Yes, I love that. Look at you being a career coach. Margaret, come on, let's have a chat.
I went on to career coach mode.
I don't know. Do you want me to? Yeah,
Does
like,
that help? Am I answering your question?
yeah, it does, especially the goal setting, because I am just starting, but I'm into farming actually. So, and I also want to do some jobs in the mining sector and everything. But then I feel like I'll be taking in too much at a time. So, but I think maybe I should start small, like you say, and then I'll feel maybe less overwhelmed as time goes on, because at least I'll be achieving something maybe as I go. So the goal setting is a very good idea. Actually, just it's like a light bulb just lit in my face.
Yeah. And if you want to make even your life easier, find somebody who's done it before and speak to them. So, I mean, when I transitioned from mining to career coaching,
yes,
I was like, who has done this before? And then I found Briony, hence why I'm here today, because she's done what I intended to do at that time. So, I mean, that conversation you have with that person might be a lifelong friendship. It might open so many doors for you, but you have to, you have to understand what it is that you want first. And then you go for who has done this before. Who do I need to connect with to make this happen? What skills do I need to learn to make it happen? And then you implement your ideas. You'll be fine.
You know, my other challenge is that sometimes I feel like people are too busy. Nobody will have time for you, like to hold hand or to even like. So I need to get out of that fear of like not wanting to approach people, because I'm thinking everybody has got a lot on their plate and everything.
But I mean, everybody has a lot on their plate. And if it's important to someone, they will make time. So, I mean, you made time to be here today. There's people sitting here in the dark, right? They have made time for this. And you just need to find one person.
Okay. Thank you so much.
One.
And you know, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And if your friends and colleagues say no, there are always career coaches like Lauren who you can pay to talk to. Okay? She's a fabulous coach. She asks all the right questions. She will push all your buttons and she'll hold you accountable.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Fantastic. Unity, you had your hand up and I very rudely put your hand down. So would you like to come on screen and ask what you had to ask?
Okay, thank you, Briony, and good evening, everyone. So I want to ask, based on the point of communicating the language of my stakeholders and also on personal board of directors. So myself, I found that in communicating the language of my stakeholders, I mostly get the vision of where we are going as an organization from my senior supervisors, which I do not get it on my immediate supervisors. But then again, I want to know that how do I approach my senior supervisors without the fear that my immediate supervisors will think that I'm not trusting their support, or I'm not trusting the knowledge I'm getting on their level?
That is a question that I want to ask either Avela or Lauren or Mogaleadi to answer. I think all of you have probably dealt with that sort of issue at some point in the mining industry. So how do you approach your next above rather than your direct supervisor to get information or to have a conversation without making your immediate supervisor feel like you're circumventing them?
No, I think that's a great question. And how I deal with it, or how I dealt with it, is firstly identifying where I am, where my immediate supervisor is, and where I'd actually like to get to. Because you shouldn't be limiting yourself to your immediate exposure. And it happens, even outside the workspace in terms of the hierarchy of supervision or whatever the case is, where you really feel you need to outgrow certain spaces. Do not limit yourself just to fit in, because it is, the popular thing to do, or it's the most comfortable thing to do. When you feel you are, your conversation is above the level of your supervisor, that's what you actually need to be doing. You need to be talking to the next level so that you really can stretch yourself beyond this limit, because you've already passed that limit. And as long as it's not really, going against protocol or anything like that, if it's not going to change your supervisor's job or your job immediately, then you are not doing anything wrong. And you don't need to even apologize for it, because you need to accept that you do want to go beyond where your immediate supervisor is. And the moment you accept that, then you start stretching yourself out of that space. But limiting yourself just to keep your immediate supervisor comfortable and yourself comfortable, then there won't be much growth happening there. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Avela, do you want to add to that?
Yes, because I once have that experience as well, of which I was reporting to my supervisor, but my mentor was the boss of the refinery. So what I was saying, I wanted to understand more on the other sphere that my supervisor was not giving me. So for me, it was more of now we're going to be talking about what I want you to mentor with, not rather than talking about the supervisor. So when you ask about how is work, how are you doing, I'll say that, no, I'm fine in that space, because I don't want to break that relationship with my supervisor and also with my mentor. I don't want that conflict of saying that I'm taking stuff from where I'm currently at and then I'm sending straight to her, indirectly. So that's how I found myself saying that, you know what, I need to have a thin line. So when I approach her with a mentorship, and then that's it. So that's how I tackle it.
Great strategy. Thanks, Avela. Lauren, you had your hand up. Were you wanting to respond to that as well?
Yeah, I always, when people have issues like this, I think it's normal to not want that friction with your direct supervisor. But your direct supervisor is a position, right? And that position is always going to be there. And if you're fearing the person that's in that position, I always say, if that person hits the Powerball jackpot tonight, tomorrow he's gone. What then? You can't say the same thing. So you have to, yes, like Dr. Avella said, and Mogaleadi said, set the boundaries, aim higher, put yourself out there. There's ways and means, right? But the supervisor is just a position, and the person that's in there is just the person that's in the position. My mentors have always been 5 levels up, always. And it's just because I've asked. And before I asked that person to be my mentor, I would always tell my direct supervisor, listen, I'm going to ask person X and Y to be my mentor for these issues. End of story. They cannot argue that. And if they do, then the issue's on their side, not on your side. Again, if they hit the Powerball, tomorrow they're gone, and there's no excuse.
I think that's such a beautiful example. Ultimately, build your networks across the organization, up, diagonally, sideways, and downwards. Nobody is too special and everybody should be in your network. Okay, so outside of your department, outside of your project, upwards from you, across from you, and downwards as well. There are people beneath you who are going to be valuable members of your network in the future. And that was a very personal lesson for me, because somebody who reported to me 20 years ago became my boss 10 years later. And if I hadn't had a good, solid relationship with him, things could have been very different. People who report to you now will become your clients in the future. So build good networks with everybody that you can. Nobody is too important for you to be having a conversation with. Sam, you've had your hand up for a long time, and I know your question relates to how do we choose our board of directors? Is that so? Should we speak about that? Do you want to phrase the question for yourself, and then we can talk about it?
Hi, ladies. So I think my question about the board of directors, I don't think, maybe it's because I don't have a lot of people around me that I would be able to use as mentors. So I think that's actually just my problem. I don't know where to get more people to help me or to mentor me. I just don't, maybe in my circle or my line of work, I just don't have anyone that I could go to. Yes, that was it.
Okay. So, anybody on our panel want to respond to that? How have you built your own board of directors? Have they been people in your immediate circle, or are they people that are from all walks of life?
If I can give it a go, and yeah, that's a very brilliant question. So for me, some of my board of directors don't actually know that they are on my board. I only know, and it's a secret I'll keep for myself, but they are very so it's not formal. It's not like I sign contracts and say you'll be, executive HR, and but I know who I can always reach out to. And it may not be in my professional life, but even for my personal life, I know if, I need to go away for a weekend, I've got a friend who's always ready to just board and go. And those people are the people I call my board of directors. I actually call them my tribe, because it's the people I can always be vulnerable with. Firstly, I can tell them how my day was, how I'm feeling, and what I'm actually thinking. The people I can share some of my wildest dreams with, and kind of use them as sounding board as to, is it too much of a big dream for me, or do they actually believe that I can do it? And sometimes it's people who cannot materially change things for me, but they can really just pump me up, and that's the energy I'll be requiring at the time. And when it comes to mentorship, my biggest lesson has always been around giving. So if I offer, I usually find that it's easier to build the mentorship relationship than if I go there wanting to be helped. So with one of my best mentors that I've ever had, it was really, and it was when I was still very junior in the organization, and he was a technical manager. And I would really offer to show what is happening in my section, first of all, and business improvement ideas that I'm seeing, and we would build on that. And he challenged me to think beyond, where I was at the time. And it wasn't always pleasant. I mean, some of my greatest ideas weren't so good for him. And it is from that kind of relationship that I learned that, I always need someone who knows more than I do to challenge me, to challenge my ideas. And I actually grew naturally out of that kind of a relationship. But it really started from a base of me saying, as a technical manager, because I know we all want to win, I can also contribute from my section to make that section win. And if every miner, at the time I was a miner, would do that, I'm sure the technical manager would really spend an hour of their day listening to where the section is and where the opportunities for improvement are. And I've seen it work across all the other relationships I've built where, it starts with a very senior person. And it's really around my value proposition to say, I think from with what I know and where I'm sitting. This information may be useful to you, or this piece of work may be useful to your work. And from that, usually the mentoring relationship naturally grows. And I think that's where some of these board of directors may not be aware that they are actually helping me grow with the ideas they are giving me. I mean, if for instance, I were to use my chairpersonship and women in mining at session as an example, it sparked so much interest with very senior people, because it was really around us challenging ourselves to do what we can do within our control, and then raising our hand to say, you know what, we would like to get further, but we need support on this, having done something, not just always asking. Thank you, Briony.
And Mogaleadi, you are a director on a number of people's boards, and you don't know it either. Avela, Lauren, do you want to add anything to this?
Yes. Your board of directors doesn't have to be in your immediate circle, right? You have to expose yourself to other people. So it's a give and take situation. You can't sit in one place and expect to see someone that you would want on your board of directors. You're gonna have to put yourself out there somehow. And I mean, which you've done because you're here tonight. And when you see someone, reach out. It's literally as easy as sending a connection request on LinkedIn and saying, hello, I saw you speak at whatever, or you asked a question at whichever conference. I found it really interesting. Boom, they don't know it, but they're on your board. So it's not formal. It doesn't have to be more than just what it is. Don't overthink it. And I think we might be getting in our own way and not putting ourselves out there. Don't overthink it. It can become a natural process. You see someone doing something cool or something that you want to do one day, reach out to them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you, Lauren. Avela, anything else to add?
Yes, I agree with the ladies that you don't have to have a formal one. For example, I do have a lot of board of boards. Then in terms of saying that if I reach out to someone in LinkedIn and then I maybe saw the advert or something that he has done, then I send a LinkedIn as a request, and then I'll appreciate, I'll say that I'm inspired by you, and then can I be in your circle? So from there, then now I'll pick up like few things, say that, okay, can we talk about this if I want to be mentored or I want to be, like, for example, I use Dr. Patient Mbofu, just said unleash the superpower within me. So I was like following her all the way up until we linked, and now we're having our mentorship, of which is started by just saying, just liking the status, and then just like connecting with her. So it's really sometimes really overwhelming because you don't know who to reach out, but at the same time they do agree, and you're like surprised. Even tomorrow we are having our third session for mentorship. So it goes beyond of saying that now you need to raise up your hand and also show up and shine. Once I post my stuff on the LinkedIn, people liked it, and people, they go on the inbox, say they being inspired and whatnot. So even when I was exposing myself on the LinkedIn, the CEO of the Jumbo Africa Online just saw me, they liked my status, said, hey, I want to write an article about you. I'm like, whoo, somebody has noticed me. So it was like something like, I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful for that, because I didn't know. I was like, you know what, I'm liking all the status, and also comment if I have to comment, even because I wanted to let me just finish up what I wanted to present. Being in the South African Association of PhD, I raised my hand, but not knowing that I raised my hand. So, because at that time, a friend of mine was saying that I want to have this organization. This is the idea. So for me to celebrate other PhDs graduates, that because it was under pandemic, they never had a graduation. I said, okay, I'm gonna help you. Let's organize. I didn't know that I was raising my hand to say that now I'm going to be the co-founder of this organization. So for me, it was like, seriously, like I wanted to help. So it went up beyond that, said that, okay, now we did the whole package, the ceremony and whatnot. Said, now we are done. Now I want you to be on the executive. I said, no way. I never even lead a fly. So how do I lead people like professors, the doctors, and DVC? So I cannot do it. I said, yes, you are the exact person that I want, because I know that I'm talkative, and then at least I want someone who's going to correct me, or someone who's analytical, someone who's going to observe. I'm like, I don't even qualify to be, yes, you are qualifying on that. So that I found myself now being like among the top 3 leaders of South African Association of PhDs as the deputy secretary. So now I'm after because I'm looking after the executive mostly. Then they're looking after the whole organization. So I have to be like on point now, say that where is it? Do the track, the action tracker. So I'm like, oh, where am I getting this whole thing? So it was a matter of saying that I raised my hand, even for inspiring 50 South African. I nominated myself. Nobody nominated. I nominated myself, and then I wrote the motivation, and then they said we need to, in order for us to be in that top 50, spread the words and beg people to comment. So they look at the comments, how the people they were talking about me, and then I was part of the first 50. So I got the award in the 23rd of March. So the last one that I was going to talk about is the Explore Judge. I raised my hand on that one as well. I saw it on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Then I followed them, and then I took I followed them, and then I sent a message. Then they gave me a direct email. So I sent an email, and then they said that, you ready? Oh, no, it's fine. You're going to be a judge for regional and international. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know what? So I've been raising my hand, as I was saying, that WIMSA helped me a lot in terms of the mentoring, because when we were in that group last year, I always make sure that I pitch up, even though we are maybe sometimes we're 6, but I'm always there because I wanted to understand how do I build my brand as Avela, because I just started. So all the achievement that I got it through WIMSA.
Oh, man.
So I am so grateful. I'm really, really grateful. That's what I was going to say, that I'm really grateful to be the part and parcel and be among the 42 that way last year. So yeah, thank you so much.
Avela, we are so grateful for how you are taking this and running with it and just paying it forward. Well done to you. You are super inspirational.
Thank you.
Raksha, you want to say something?
Well, I guess more a comment than anything else. So should they just book their diaries now for the next one? Or, I mean, okay, so it's taken as a given.
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
Cool, ladies.
Absolutely. So just to wrap up this discussion around the board of directors, we're going to have a specific session on it later in the year, but your board of directors can be as formal or informal as you want. And ideally, you want to think about having people who you surround yourself with that are going to ask you really tough questions, okay? That are going to cheer you on when you need a cheerleader, that are going to encourage you when you need encouragement, that are going to have fun with you when you've been working too hard and you just need a little bit of playtime, that are going to help you think through something. Okay, so be there to brainstorm with you. And you also need kind of mentors, you need sponsors, you need people who are going to coach you. So not necessarily tell you how to do something, but ask you questions that help you think through things. And the last person you need on your board of directors, who you never want to know that they're on your board of directors, is your anti-mentor. And that is the person that you observe doing things that you never, ever, ever want to do because you've now seen what it looks like in somebody else doing those things. Okay? And all of these people can, other than the anti-mentor, you can approach and say, I like what you're doing and I want you as part of my tribe. How can I serve you so that you can be part of my tribe? Or they can be people that you watch and take inspiration from. It's whatever you want. But what I really want to say here is you've all got access to LinkedIn. You've all got access to the WIMSA network. And LinkedIn is the equivalent of an online conference. So start there. If you live in a remote area and you don't have a lot of people around you, get yourself onto LinkedIn and start being as active there as you possibly can. People who say things that inspire you, let them know that they've inspired you and build the connection, just like Avela has. She didn't know patience in Porfu a little while ago, and now she's having her third mentoring session with this absolute phenomenal woman who's at the top of her game and most of us can't get access to, mostly because most of us have never tried. Okay, so where are we? We're at 7:15. How's everybody doing? Can we just have a quick show of reactions? Are you all still with us? Are you enjoying this? Are you getting value out of it? Do you want to ask questions? Are you all still awake? Are you all still alive? Just use your reaction buttons and let us know that you're with us. Okay, I'm starting to see some thumbs. This is good. Most people in the room are still alive. This is good. All right, so
Briony, should we get them all to ask some questions and also?
I think we should. We should. But what I'm going to do before that is do a poll, and then we can maybe get people to ask the questions based on the results of the poll. Okay. Okay, so this final poll is, which link is holding you back? Okay, so which of the links in your career value chain is holding you back? Choose a maximum of 3, and instead of explaining in the chat, although you can still do that, let's have a chat about the links that are holding you back. Right, immediate responses, intentional brand, communicating, CEO mindset, self-care. Okay, keep contributing, ladies. We've had 3 people respond. I want to get responses from everybody. CEO mindset coming out top of the pops at the moment. Okay, we've had 18 people respond, 20. Starting to get some nice responses here. Okay, let's get a few more. But there are some very clear areas that people are struggling with. What I'm amazed to see is self-care is not at the top of the list here. And that's good to know. Okay, I'm going to wait another 30 seconds so anybody who hasn't responded can get their answers in here. But at the moment, it's looking like communicating to connect, CEO mindset, and there's a tie between personal board of directors and delivering without derailing. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you should be able to see the results now. So you can see there, communicating to connect, CEO mindset, and personal board of directors seem to be the areas that people are struggling the most. All right, so everybody who said that they were struggling with those 3, let's get you on camera and let's have a conversation.
Briony, we've also had Valencia's had her hand up for a while.
Valencia, speak to us.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. I'm not feeling my video. I hope it's safe now this time.
It was very funny.
That was my husband.
No problem. Anyway. Now we know your husband very well.
Anyway, I'm going to be very honest, and I want the panel to really assist me, right? I just want to know, what do you say to someone that says, you know what, I'm doing well in my career, And I know that I have to grow. It would be a good idea to grow my circle, to basically just set myself up in my career. It will be a good idea. So, but what do you say? But I'm doing well in my career so much that perhaps it's not really a priority. It's a nice to have at this moment, you know? So I just want to know, what do you say to someone like that? Perhaps I'm saying, you know, sell it a bit to us, but I think I want to know the benefits of the connections that you've had throughout your career, you know, having a mentor and all those things. Would you have it any different? Is there something really out of this world? Is it very beneficial? Would you do without? Do you need them? Why? You know? So I just really want to be honest and to be real in this aspect.
Great question. Lauren,
Can
do you
I
want to kick it off? Yeah.
Yeah. So if I understand you correctly, you're okay, right? And now you want to understand, why should you grow if you're fine, right? So if I can make an example of a brand pre-lockdown, and if you take something like Skype was a thing before lockdown, right? Before COVID. Then COVID happened and Zoom took over. Zoom and Teams were the things. And Skype was perfectly okay, but there was an opportunity where they could have stayed relevant and they didn't. So if you cannot make yourself relevant all the time, then if you're stuck being fine, that's all you're going to be, and you're going to stay there. So growing your circle, and I'm going to take this personally, I have seen that because I served my network served me back. So I can change careers, industries, anything really, and never have to look for a job. Imagine you can sit with the confidence of never having to apply for a job, never having to stress about it, ever. Because people will phone you, come and work for us. Now, once you have that, you have done the main quest. You are just doing the side quests, everything that is fun and awesome. And I feel like that's motivation enough to grow said circle and to give back, because what you're sitting on is experience that you're not sharing. And if you carry on like that, you're going to be left behind. It's almost a guarantee. So
that is a compelling argument.
Yeah, so you could be living your best life, but in your eyes, you're okay. Are you okay now?
Yeah. No, you really bring it into perspective, Lauren. Yeah.
It's like Nokia. They were fine. And then boom, they were not fine anymore. All of a sudden, gone. So if you sit on that I'm fine, you're going to remain there, and then all of a sudden you're not going to be fine, and it's going to take you a lot of energy to reach your potential. Whereas you can use this to your advantage now and build those circles.
Yeah, what I want to add to that is build your network before you need your network. When I left my job 6 years ago because of burnout, I thought I had a good network. I thought I was fine. And then I started my own business, and I realized very, very quickly that actually the network that I had was not as good as I thought it was, that I couldn't call on people who I thought I could call on. and I've had to do a hell of a lot of work over the last 6 years to build a network, which I have served very generously, and that serves me back very generously. But the biggest lesson that I've learned from all of this is I assumed I had a network and that I would be able to land on my feet without any problems. And that was a massive misassumption on my part. And if I could have done anything differently, I would have spent a few years building a much stronger network, both in and outside of the mining industry and in and outside of my own profession, so that when I changed careers and when I needed people, I had strong relationships. So definitely want to support what Lauren is saying. Build your network before you need it and serve it generously.
I would like to add, Brian, if it's okay. Yeah. So, as you were saying what you said to us, Valencia, I was actually getting, chills on my back to say, I wonder if anyone, ever gets there. The self-actualization part of the hierarchy of needs. And I thought of the ikigai. So if you think your profession is where you want it to be, maybe it's time to start giving back. Or maybe start to do things that you've always wanted to do. It may not have been in your professional field, but it's really around your purpose to say, this is what I stand for. This is what I would like to do for my community or for the next person. And it all builds into this ikigai, this thing that we all remember you for. So until you don't have to introduce yourself, as they say, then it means you still have some work to do in other spheres of your life. Because, we're not all here to build careers and retire, but we also need to continue, being energized, feeling inspired to continue to do more, whether at work or in your community, in your circle, being on other people's board of directors, and just keeping yourself really enjoying your life as you want it to be. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mogaleadi. Valencia, can we move on from that? I see hands up from Sam and Trish. Sam, do you want to ask your question or make your comment?
Yes, please. Question for Lauren, please. Lauren, you said that it's totally off topic. You said that you try to stay relevant. Do you have an example, an easy example that you can give to us of something you do that keeps you relevant?
I'm very much into self-learning, learning new things outside of what I'm doing now. So I always, when I started my career, I was a production geologist in the coal mines. And 5 years in, I decided to do my black belt, which is a business improvement qualification. So what that then does is it gives me the option to work in any industry, right? And I went back into production with that, was able to resign, start a coaching business, did the coaching thing, and then was offered a job in IT and business improvement and finance. Now I've still got the geology, I've still got the business improvement, but now I'm like, okay, what is the next step? The next step is I can stay relevant by learning something on big data or programming. What is happening in the world? What is the next thing? So it's also around staying in touch with industry trends. You need to research, and then you need to put yourself in that position, and you need to make it happen. So yes, learning new things all the time.
Thank you.
Anybody else from our panel want to jump in and add to that? Avela, Mogaleadi?
Yeah, I'd just like to add to say it's also continuously exploring yourself. If you feel relevant, you most likely are. So it's really not trying to keep up with the world itself, but keeping up with yourself. You know, I always say, if you had asked me 10 years ago if I knew I'd be here, the answer is no. But I'm here because I continuously explore beyond where I think I can get. And that makes me feel, you know, I'm relevant. Up for an argument.
Fantastic, thank you. Avela, I saw you come off mic or off mute.
Yes. I wanted to say that for me to stay relevant, at first I was the introvert. So I had to come out of that caucus. So I used to have that feeling that, what are people going to say about me? Am I good enough? Am I being relevant? So now I had to step out from that comfort zone and push myself and say that, let me just act and be the introvert, the extrovert. So how I managed to do it, it was based on the COVID. So when we were in the COVID, I said that, okay, I think that it's my time to shine. It's my time because these people now are coming to our territory, which is, as the introvert, we like to be like indoors and do things in house. So now they are coming to our territory. Let's show them that we can be an extrovert in our territory. So for me, I use that, the COVID, as they say, that it boosted me a lot, because I did never expect myself to be where I'm at currently. If it was not because of COVID, yes, I know COVID, it was sad to have COVID, but on the other side, I had some positivity of saying that, how do I get off this comfort zone? So it felt that I need to push myself. So when those extroverts, they were coming, so it was easy for me to engage and then say that. And then I found myself now being then another extrovert, the official I created along the way. So that's what I'm saying, that now it helped me, honestly speaking. But yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Avela, the thought of you as an introvert is very hard to believe. You never stop talking, and it's so wonderful.
No, I am. Honestly, if you can ask people that they know me, they will tell you that Avela is that quiet girl who's very shy.
Well, we love this talkative version of you, so keep coming at us. Trish, you've had your hand up for a while.
Hello, ladies.
Hi, Trish.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. I've got a little bit of a poor network. So thanks for the great conversation today. And I just want to ask Briony, when you say building up a network, what okay, I know that it has to be on social platforms and that sort of thing, but how often do you talk to people or get onto these social networks? How do you know the strength of your network? Basically, I've been struggling from a little girl. I've done speech and drama and everything that you can possibly think of. I do have confidence, but when it comes to speaking to people, I just get really, really nervous. Thank you.
I can resonate with what you're saying, because I don't consider myself to be a natural networker. In fact, I consider myself to be quite an introvert. And I remember saying quite a while ago that I hate networking. And a friend of mine caught me out and said, that's absolute nonsense. You just misunderstand what networking is. Okay? I think a lot of us have this view that networking is the equivalent to being a second-hand car salesman, and that you walk around handing out business cards and closing deals and kind of signing off contracts there and then. And if we think about networking like that, we're getting it wrong. Okay? So for me, networking is about building relationships. And it's about not just being strategic in building relationships, although I think that's very important, but it's also, for me, my version that makes me comfortable is about serving my network. So I tend not to look for anything from my network. I just aim to serve. Okay? What comes back from my network is a bonus for me. But in serving, in volunteering, in sharing content, in doing initiatives like this, in being on webinars, I've built such a beautiful network of people across industries, across countries, across cultures that I know is a really strong network. Where I'm really bad is actually asking my network for anything, okay? And it's a conversation that Raksha and I have started having over the last little while, is actually leveraging your network, actually putting out there what you need so that your network can help you in the same way that you help. But what I want to start with is a suggestion that you do a little bit of a stakeholder analysis for yourself. So really map out, who are the people in your network? What are the types of groupings of people? Are they all exactly the same people like you, same industry, same area, same background, or do you have lots of diversity in your network? And then start thinking about, where do you want to be building up your network, and how comfortable do you feel being able to make an ask of people in your network? Because before you can make an ask, you need to be able to make an offer, as far as I'm concerned. And there will be different versions of this for various different people. But for me, I always like to know that I've added value before I've asked for anything. And one of the sessions that we're going to have is specifically around networking. And we're going to talk a lot about doing a stakeholder analysis and really mapping out where the gaps are in your network and where you need to put a lot more intentional action. It doesn't all have to be on social media. And I'm going to ask Raksha actually to jump in here, because she told me yesterday that she's having kind of conversations and meetups with people who have inspired her and who have made contact with her. And I'm just wondering, Raksha, if you would be willing to talk about that, because I think there's so much power in the connections that you're building by not leaving it as something on social media.
Yeah, sure. And it's literally just that. It's conversations. So I think I've had a couple of people who've reached out to me on LinkedIn and connected with me, and then we sort of start basic sort of chatting, getting, like, this is who I am, et cetera, et cetera. And then instead of just continuing it as a long drawn process, like, we've made intentional attempts to actually sit down and have a face-to-face conversation, whether it's a cup of coffee or it's a breakfast or whatever it is. And it's just basically getting to know the other person. There's no agenda. There's no expectations from anything. It's about building the relationship, forming the relationship, and then things will naturally grow and gravitate from there. I think with some people, you automatically form a connection and then it's easy. But with some people, you might need a couple conversations, and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's also fine, because you've got to almost, shop around a little bit as well to find what works for you, because sometimes we can be completely misaligned, and then there's no point in creating a false relationship as well. So, I would just say, put yourself out there. And I know it's hard and I know it's very intimidating, but don't make it a forced exercise on LinkedIn or on whichever social media platform. If it's within your vicinity and it's easy enough for you to meet somebody, and if they're prepared to meet you, just go have a cup of tea, have a chat. And it could be 10 minutes, it could be an hour. And next thing you realize, you've been talking and talking and talking, and it's as if you're talking to an old friend, right? But it's all about forming the relationship, because every single one of these things are based on relationships. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and to add to that, Trish, you have been networking. I mean, the first time that you contacted me about the mentoring program, that was you starting to network. You sent me an email and said, I want to be part of this. And I immediately filed your name in my head and looked for your application. And then I think we spoke on the phone, and that kind of added another little kind of level to the relationship. And now I look for you on all of our sessions. So that to me is networking. It's just starting with hi, this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for, and going from there. And to me, it doesn't have to be a big thing at all. It doesn't have to be scary at all. It can be as much as, I saw you're doing this, I'm really interested in that. Could I drop you a message about it, have a phone call, whatever? What's the easiest way for you to engage with me on that? Okay.
Thank you. Can I add something else as well?
It's a little bit of a process, but yeah, I'll get there.
You will. If the one other thing I can add is, sometimes it becomes so intimidating because we don't know anything about people except for like Dr. Avella, who's winning all these awards and she's so famous and she's so it becomes difficult to approach somebody, right? What I've done with a couple of the people I've connected with personally is I try and find stuff that maybe we have in common, and like, or certain interests that I've seen from stuff that they posted or about where they studied or where they're from or whatever. And you kind of form a, sort of like a baseline connection that you can possibly relate to and then build on it from there as well. Because sometimes it just makes it a little bit easier, I think. But also I want to reiterate to everybody on this group, guys, that we're in this group and we're in this network already. And you've got to use it. You have to utilize it. We're on LinkedIn together. We're on a WhatsApp group together. Connect with all of us. Reach out to all of us, and use us. That's why we're here. Use us. Yeah. And I mean, if talk to each other as well. So you're in a network already. You just don't realize you're there. It's about what you're doing with the next steps, I think.
Yeah. And if by the end of this call, you haven't connected with a few people on LinkedIn who are sitting here, you can see their names, go and look for them on LinkedIn and send a connection request, then you're missing an opportunity. And be like Lauren and put your LinkedIn URL straight into the chat. Now you can connect with her directly. Okay? Sipokazi, your hand has been up for so long that I'm sure you've built more muscles. Speak to us.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Let me see if I can start my video as well.
Yay, we can see you.
Can you? Because I can't see myself.
We can see you.
There I am. I've got a question for the panel, and it has a lot to do with the ladies mentioned that they are literally their own businesses. Lauren is doing her own thing and she's running her own company. So I've been struggling for like just this month, the past 2 weeks. I work in an environment where I have to push people to do their job. It's fast paced. So you really have to make sure, are you guys doing everything that needs to be done on time? And then there are just days like the past 2 weeks where I'm just tired. I just don't want to push any wheelbarrows this week. I just wish everyone would do what they need to do. Obviously, they won't because they're people. So where do you get it? Like in such situations, what do you do? Where do you is there like a secret stash of keep going that you guys put somewhere and you just, kind of open it up and keep going?
You just stick it to the neck.
Lauren, don't you have a kind of a sack of keep it going juice?
Yes, I keep it on like my belt, and then I just hit myself with keep it going. It's okay. It's okay to be tired. You're a human being. You're not going to be energized all the time, and people are people. They are also tired, and sometimes I just want to sit. So I'm not going to do what it is that you want me to do. So it's okay, first of all, to feel like you are feeling. For me, what I do is I have some quiet time to myself at night. And then I manifest it, like I visualize what I want to happen at work. And slowly but surely it does happen, right? So that's the one tool that I use, and it hasn't failed me. The other thing, with getting people to do what you need them to do is you can either threaten them, which is a very short-term solution. It doesn't really work because you might get what you need now, but then it's like, it's this woman again. She's asking things. I'm not going to do it. Or you can find out what motivates them and use that. So if you must bring them a small chocolate, bring a small chocolate. If you must bring them a Red Bull, bring a Red Bull. You would be surprised the impact that snacks make on a team or free stuff. It works every time. So that's my 2 cents that I'm going to throw in there. But find out what motivates them. It can only be one of a few things, and use that. And sometimes you also just need to find who the influencer in your team is, where you don't even have to motivate the whole team. You just need to motivate one of them. And that person will do the work for you. Then you work smart, not hard.
Yeah. You know, intrinsically, people want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to feel validated. The snacks show people that they're seen, okay? That's really what they're doing. If you can figure out how to let people know that you see them, that you hear them, and that they are valid members of your team, that immediately helps people feel like it's worth contributing. And that requires having conversations. It definitely is not about whipping people. It's about getting to know people. And anybody who's leading a team needs to know their team. They need to know who they are, what they're about, what they value, what they're worried about, what's going on in their lives, why they're so tired. And all of us get tired, all of us get disappointed, all of us feel disconnected from our work from time to time. It's okay. The moment we start treating each other as machines and we lose the human element, we've lost the game. Avella Mogaleadi, Mogaleadi's young daughter, would you like to join us? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, so my input into that is really around, yes, motivating your teams. But one thing I've also had to learn for myself is to, drop the whole perfectionism and me being, if I'm not there, they won't do it. And it's actually, I think there's a concept called codependence, where we actually, I think, overestimate our worth in people's lives, thinking if I don't do it for them, they won't do it for themselves and all of that. And we think we can think for them and get them to do what they don't want to do and all of that. So it's really firstly understanding what is it about you that makes them do it at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, they get it done. But what is it about you that gets them to do that? And if you really are truthful to yourself and say, if I don't do it, how else do I get them to just do it themselves? Because they get paid to do it firstly, and getting them to understand that, having the conversation, to understand that they are there to deliver a service and why is it important for them to do that. And I'm in mining, so most of the time, I love the value chain. A lot of people don't have a good appreciation of the whole value chain. So a truck operator would be thinking they must just get the truck running the whole day, whether it's full or not, it doesn't really matter. And the geologist will be fighting with us on the quality of the ore and all of that. And it's when you get the truck operator or the shovel operator to understand that there has to be some level of quality in the work they do. There's a geologist who's concerned about the quality of the ore. And then they find meaning in their work. And then they start understanding, okay, it's not just about throwing the dirt in the truck. It's really making sure you don't contaminate the ore and all of that. So it's really around understanding in your own space, what is it that people understand their role to be, and how can you make it, firstly look important, that if they don't do it, the business is not gonna run. And secondly, they need to, in their own personal spaces, be able to do it themselves. And, I was actually going through the chat and I see that most of us are also struggling with, I think, fear of rejection and this anxiety of not always getting what we want. And I think the moment you get to terms with that you are not always going to get it, it's not always what Mogaleadi wants, what Mogaleadi gets. And it's easier than to start going after things that you want, because you win some, you lose some. So you need to start accepting that. I've got days where I go for the no's. I challenge myself to get at least 5 no's on things that are difficult to ask. And if I'm going for the no's, I know if I get a yes, it's a celebration. And there are days where I'm very conserving of my energy, trying to only do what I know, I'll get right, so that I keep my energy levels in check. But those days where I know it's going to be a tough day, you try different things, the whole look good, feel good thing. You really try things to keep your energy in check when your situation may be a bit challenging for you. So in terms of leading teams, remember, you cannot always be there. Your role as a leader is to get your job done without you being there. And that's what you need to work on.
Lovely. Lauren, did you want to add to that?
I think take the other question. I just want to share maybe like a small hack for the introverts on the call that they can use to help in networking and building connections.
You've gone on to mute. I'm not sure if you're wanting to share it now.
No, I'm saying you can take the other question and then
okay.
I'll share.
Okay, perfect. All right. Zanelli and then Unity.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, there I am.
Yay!
So, mine is a very quick one. It's more of a networking issue that I have that I really need to deal with. I'm usually the type of person who's not a conversation starter. So I would usually, when an opportunity presents itself to network, I would sit in the background or find a target that will keep me going for the rest of the event, Even raising my hands for this, my heart started beating because now I must talk to this group of people. So I think I just need advice on how to overcome that fear to actually communicate with people or start a conversation without having the fear. I don't know how you can assist me.
Okay, so I want to start and then anybody else can take over. First piece of advice from my perspective is ask somebody a question. If you aren't comfortable speaking about yourself or starting a conversation, put the responsibility on somebody else by asking them a question. What did you think about that talk? What did you think about the speaker? How are you finding your career at the moment? How did you get into where you are in your career right now? What's your favorite drink? Whatever it is, just start with a question. It gets them talking, and then hopefully they'll ask you a question and the conversation will flow. My other piece of advice is give yourself a role at an event, okay? When I've got a role to play at an event, I am full of life. I'm connecting with everybody because I get to flit around and serve drinks or help people find where they've got to sit or give them information. And for me, volunteering has been the best way to build a network and have the opportunity to start conversations. Because when you volunteer, you've got a specific role, it gives you a purpose for being there, and you can start a conversation around the work that you're doing at the event. So if you're really struggling, volunteer your time to your professional bodies and get them to give you roles, because it makes it a hell of a lot easier to start getting to know people. My 2 cents worth. Anybody else, please jump in.
All right. On my side, I was like you, Zanelli. I used to be shy and feel like people will talk on my behind. So what I used to do when I go to the conference, I'll pick one person and then I'll have a relationship with that person and then say that, let's move around. So I'll have a buddy next to me that will, when I fall, it will just lift me up. So I will have a buddy like, let's go and talk to this person. So I won't be alone up until I realize that, you know what, now at least I'm comfortable to be alone. At first, it's very, very, very difficult, honestly speaking, but I will also make sure that I pick up a buddy so that I can work with. So, but in terms of the network, the LinkedIn, you just send a message like to an inbox like ask someone that you are inspired about the work, how he or she managed to get to that position, and you just talk about what you just praise him. I always feel like let me just praise the person before, because I'm trying to crack. And then up until I say that, okay, the conversation is going, this one is stopping, and then I'll let it go if it's stopping. So I wanted to go back to Spokazi when he was saying that how she can push people, or he was like being leading people all the time. You know what? Sometimes that thing is frustrating. For example, for me, if you do that to me, I got frustrated, and because I feel like you are micromanaging me. So now I'm gonna lay back, because I'll know that as soon as you come, I'm gonna do the work. Once you're not there, I'm gonna lay back, because for me, I get frustrated when you start micromanaging me. I get like, you know what? I'm gonna show her. She's gonna be the one who's gonna be doing the job. So stop. Like, I feel like that if you kind of like micromanaging people, they will give you that kind of attitude. You're gonna get exhausted. You'll be frustrated, because I'll be looking at you, said, lead me. You said you're a leader, lead me. Or you say you're a boss, lead me. Then if ever now you are allowing me to be in my own space and also try stuff, and you allow me to say that, okay, let me just give Avela a benefit of a doubt that she's gonna do this. And then I can show you frames that I can do it. But if you are like showing me every day, and then it means I'm gonna feel like you are micromanaging me, then I'll just give you that attitude. So you need to as well check yourself how you do things. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Avela. Okay, we have been talking for close to 2 hours. I cannot believe it, and I think we could probably talk for another 2 hours. I know Unity has had her hand up, so Unity, I want to give you the opportunity to ask your question or make your comment, and then I think we need to wrap this up and get on with whatever else we're doing this evening. So Unity, if you want to ask your question, your time is now. There you are.
Okay, thank you, Briony. It's not actually a question, it's a comment on how to get the people to do their job, because I'm a chief boss myself. So I believe that as a leader, my job is to sell the vision of the organization to the people. If people have the same vision that I have, then I won't have to be pushing them to do the job. People, if they're knowledgeable on why they must do things, they do them effectively. They become self-leaders in what they're doing, because they're doing it with understanding. So my advice is that keep people updated. Let them know how the market is doing, how the platinum market is doing. Get them to understand the business they're in, that it's not just about coming to the mine. We are in business, we have a profit to make. Sell the vision to the people. It's your job as a leader. Then the people, they will become leaders themselves, because they have the vision, they understand where they're going. Thank you.
Unity, I would come and work for you any day. Ladies, I think we need to give our panelists a massive round of applause. They have been amazing. They have shared so much wisdom with us, and I'm pretty sure that we will be asking all of them to come back to future sessions. Mogaleadi, Avela, Lauren, thank you so much for your 2 hours. And for all the prep that you've done for this, and for sharing all your wisdom. You have been phenomenal. And I just want to ask everybody to turn their mics on so that we can give you a very noisy round of applause. Yay!
Well done, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we always have to end with our obligatory social media photo. So will you please all put your videos on, and let's get a nice photo of everybody. What are we going to do, Raksha? How are we going to pose this?
I don't know. What are the youngsters doing these days? I don't know.
I haven't a clue. I don't fall into that category. Are we doing a break the bias? Okay, let's do that. All right, we want everybody's videos on. Bailey, Sarah, Salamina, Nambuso. Come on. Everybody, videos. We've got to see your beautiful faces. All right, I am going to do a screen grab now. So you've got 5 seconds to get your videos on. And I've only got one hand available, so I will half break the bias. Right, I'm doing my first one. Are you ready?
Yay.
And I'm going to do a second one just to make sure that I got everybody.
Oh, we're doing that.
Yeah.
All right, I've got you. This has been recorded. Once I've managed to upload this very long video, I will share the link on LinkedIn. Thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful session. There's been so much wisdom shared. Join us again on the second Tuesday of next month. And in the meantime, go off and be the CEOs of your careers. Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Briony. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Goodbye.